If summer already has you thinking about drinking and how you're going to handle it this summer, well, this workshop is for you. If you're already thinking, how am I going to navigate the alcohol-centric world that we live in this summer by the pool, at the barbecue, on the lake, the patio, I want you to feel empowered in this workshop and really be able to get ahead of it. So you're not in reaction mode, but you're really pre-planning. And we're going to talk about some of the P's today. I want to give you some handles to hold on to in a really practical way so that you can feel empowered if you are choosing to drink less or not at all, which I have personally found easier to not drink at all versus trying to drink less. But I think the journey starts by just being curious, and that's what we're doing. So first off, why summer feels harder? Does it? If you're out there listening to me, whether you're here in my free community live or checking this out somewhere else, leave a comment below if you feel like summer makes it harder to be alcohol free. And if so, why is that? For some of us in our work life or our home life, summer is a continuum. But for many people, it is a shift of routine. It is a complete shift of expectation and just the regular way of life. So when we get out of routine, that can kind of throw us off a little bit. In the summer, there seems to be more events. You've got the family reunion. You've got the big vacation days. You've got people visiting you. If you live in a really cool place, people are coming your way, right? So it's a lot of entertaining. So more events, sometimes more social pressure. I feel like a lot of the activities similar to the holidays happen around summer where it's very social to find ourselves around a cooler, around a Yeti, on the boat. I feel like the social pressure, drinking is just such a part of our culture and just more opportunities to drink. Like I said, the vacay mode. Can anybody relate with this? Kind of the rosé all day vacation mode. How about you? Do you find yourself drinking differently on vacation than you do in your day-to-day life? Well, for some people, summer is vacation mode for 3 months, especially if I'm talking to you, if you're like a school teacher or live on an academic schedule. The summers are extra challenging because you're out of routine, or maybe there are family members that are out of routine. And that's okay. We can get ahead of this, but we've got to name it first. We've got to go ahead and say, okay, what are we dealing with? What are some of the challenges? And really opportunities. These are not just challenges, they're actual opportunities to practice a new way of looking at alcohol, to see alcohol in a different light, and maybe begin to devalue alcohol instead of raise its value up in your life. As environment increases the triggers or pressure to drink, I think you can also use that as a time to really get curious about the associations we make with drinking. We do it with eating, the whole pairing, this drink with that meal, the whole pairing of like a cold beer by the pool, a white glass by the pool. Well, listen, you can have an NA beer at the pool. There are so many great alcohol-free drink options now that if you're drinking for the taste, or if you're drinking for the association, for the ritual of it, now you actually have options. So that's a good thing. But if you're feeling like summer is kind of harder to rein it in, it's not just you, it's the environment that you're stepping into. A lot of times it's what's going on around us that influences our drinking. Or maybe we're the influencers of the drinking going on around us. Was anybody out there a ringleader? Raise your hand if you were or are the ringleader of your social group. I was. I recognize that now because some of these friend groups don't get together as much anymore. And I do notice that I stopped bringing us together a lot of times, which was centered around drinking. Now, I've got a lot of great friends that drink. So it's not like if you drink, you're not my friend, or if you're my friend, you can't drink. It's not like that at all. I have a lot of friends who are drinkers. But I will say, when I was a drinker, I had a lot of friends that drinking was our activity. It was a big reason why we got together. We wouldn't have said that at the time, maybe because that would have sounded kind of sad or desperate. But let's be honest, there were times where we enjoyed each other's company, but we really enjoyed drinking together. And so as the ringleader, I noticed that I'm not getting quite as many invites for just drinking activities, but I am getting more invites for coffee dates, walking dates, doing things that aren't so alcohol-centric. So you can be an influencer, all of you are, you can begin to change the environment you're in. And number 2, why waiting to decide doesn't work. Like waiting to decide if you're going to drink when you get there. I don't know about you, but I can tell you about me. My default was drinking when I had kind of not pre-decided. Let me say this another way. If you're walking into a social scenario or even your kitchen and you haven't pre-decided, it is so easy. It is actually normal to get kind of swept up in the current of drinking because it's the flow. It's the go with the flow. And if you get to any of these summer activities that I've talked about, boating, lake house, patios, the pool, all of it, and you haven't pre-decided, and this is true year round, but it's definitely true in the summer. If you haven't pre-decided what you want to do, how you want to show up, not only when you're there, but that night and the next day, it's going to be very, very difficult. In fact, I've heard it said that a maybe basically means yes. In that kind of situation, rarely did I go into a drinking situation on the fence and decide not to drink. If I went in kind of on the fence and was going to just see what my husband did at dinner, or I got to the pool and I was just going to see what other people were putting in their glass, that was toast. I mean, I was going to drink for sure. So I had to pre-decide before I went in there because in the moment decisions are usually emotional ones. Could be positive emotion, could be negative emotion, could be good old fashioned peer pressure. Yes, even in our 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 30s, any age, we can have this weird adult peer pressure where it's kind of like, oh, you know, people don't want to drink by themselves, so have a drink with me. Come on, Jen, you can have just one. And I'm like, well, I can have just one, but that's going to be a lot of work for me to have just one because the drink doesn't want me to have just one. The drink itself creates a thirst for itself. It's an addictive substance. So it's going to be hard to have one. It's kind of like opening a bag of chips and eating a chip. They're not exactly the same, but it's kind of the same concept of like, man, it's really, again, it can be done. Can people moderate? Absolutely. I could until I couldn't. And I think stress plus pressure, and again, stress can be, usually we think of stress as negative, but stress can also be you're celebrating, you want to enhance it, you want to make what's great even greater, you want to take it up a notch. And what we end up doing is dulling the spark. We turn down the technicolor of the actual experience when we put alcohol on top of it. So stress plus pressure can equal a default pattern, that default behavior. Again, like I said, if you get to a party, a pool, a patio, and you haven't decided before you walk in and you're on the fence, you're probably going to make an emotional decision, one, decision fatigue, maybe a little bit of social anxiety, panic, where it's like, just give me a drink. We get all discombobulated when we don't know what to say. And so we're going to talk about that, how to pre-plan. But the key is if you don't plan, your brain will choose something familiar. Remember, your brain is looking to expend the least amount of energy possible and do what is most familiar. Your brain is always scanning the environment for what is known, what is certain, and what is familiar. And it says, just do that. Just do that. Don't get uncomfortable. Don't go out on a limb. Don't try something new. And so you have to be very intentional if you always drink in that setting or you always say yes. You can still say yes, but what you say yes to may change. I say yes now. When I walk into a party, sometimes I walk in and they're like, ma'am, can I get you something to drink? Or I'm at a happy hour and I'm handed 2 tickets, you know, can I get you something to drink? I always say yes. And then I proceed to tell them yes to I would love some water. I've been running around all day. I'm so hot. I'm so thirsty. I would love to start with some water. You can still say yes and divert a lot of that social pressure by being positive, confident, and saying yes, but then dictating what your yes is for. But the key is, if you don't plan, your brain will choose what's familiar. And if you're always saying yes to alcohol and you see yourself as a drinker, you've got to begin to see yourself differently and pre-plan. Your future self needs a plan, not more pressure. Okay, think about it. Not too far. I want you living in the present. But if you can visualize yourself at the pool, at the patio, wherever the summer temptation might be for you, you don't need more pressure in that moment. You're already going to be probably feeling enough. And you don't want more pressure on yourself, because that'll make you want to drink more. Decision fatigue plus pressure actually made me just want to check out. So if you can go in with simplicity, and by having a plan, take the back and forth mental tug of war in your mind, take it off the table, take it away, and put some simplicity in place and just go, you know what? I'm going to pre-decide before I get there. And then have accountability and have connection, which is what we're doing inside of SoberSys. Because you need a plan. You don't need more pressure. You need a plan. And I do feel like that's what I have for you in the 21-day reset challenge, in AFL and beyond, is always having more ways of thinking and looking at alcohol that literally give you a plan. So it's not just more willpower. It's not just shaming yourself and berating yourself, to be perfect. It's literally going in and going, of course I crave alcohol if you're a regular drinker. It's part of the nature of alcohol. You've got to have a plan to counteract that while you're building these new neural pathways. So again, you don't need more pressure, you need a plan. So that's why my third point here in this workshop is prepare instead of react. So to have a plan, it takes preparation. That's all it is. When you're in a less emotional state, when you're still in your good intentions drawer, if you will. And that is pre-decide. We've already mentioned it's very difficult to decide once you are in the situation. So pre-deciding is knowing ahead of time probably what you're walking into, and then it could look like pre-planning is next. So pre-deciding is not deciding in the moment, but making the choice beforehand, no matter what. If nobody's drinking or if everybody's drinking, if they have your favorite drink or they don't. It's not leaving it up to the environment or what other people are doing or external cues, triggers, or associations. When you pre-decide, you're deciding what you're doing, what you want to do, and then staying in your own lane. Talk a lot about this in the reset when I talk about social opportunities to grow, when I talk about what do you do if you have a spouse who drinks? I do. What do you do? How do you stay in your own lane? Well, it's definitely going to be pre-deciding and pre-planning. So pre-planning looks like bringing alternatives. BYOB. It is easiest to BYOB, bring your own beverage, in the summer, because usually it's showing up at a pool party, a lake, a patio, and you can bring your own. And a lot of times now, restaurants, you can call ahead and say, do you have a zero proof cocktail menu? Do you have any non-alcoholic beverages on your menu? You can plan ahead by calling ahead. If you're going to a house party, you can bring it. In fact, the hostess would love that if you would bring an alcohol-free beverage, because they may not know what to get. They may not have that. I mean, she may have sparkling water, and just do that. That's great. But yeah, I think having alternatives or planning for alternatives is super key. Another thing about pre-planning is having an exit plan. Did you know you can actually go to parties, dinners, and events a little on the early side if you want to help or just kind of get there and get the lay of the land before it gets packed? And you can also leave early. That's kind of what I do. I love being there right on time. I don't want to be too early, because that can be annoying when people are like, it starts at 6 and you're here at 5:40. Okay, it's not 6. But I show up typically to events on time, so I could walk in with something in my hand and it's not so awkward. And then I also can plan on leaving early, because as the night wears on or the day continues on, the drinking usually escalates and then people are less present. And then I am even more present because I'm awake, alert, aware, present in my own life. So once I've gotten the connection and we've all made that time, then I kind of bug out of there. So you can have an exit plan to leave early. Guess what, ladies? You don't even have to go at all. Did you know that? I mean, you don't need the permission from me, but you need it from yourself to maybe just skip an event, skip a pool party if you know it's too much right now. You can decide. You don't have to just say yes to everything. In AFL, I talk a lot about boundaries. So you can decide what works for you, what's life-giving to you. Some examples of having a plan is saying, what will I drink instead? Hey, y'all, let me know if this resonates with you in the comments. I think sometimes just that social anxiety, there are many people that drink just because they just don't know what else to do with their hands, what to say if they get asked a question. Maybe they recently went through something or going through a divorce or something where it's like, oh my gosh, if you can pre-plan what you want to say if someone asks you if you want to drink, again, you can use my default answer, which is usually, sure, yes, what do you have? Or yes, I'm good right now, have something in your hand. But walking in empty-handed and no idea of what you're going to say if asked if you want to drink can kind of be a recipe for disaster. Because again, we just go back to our old default ways. So by pre-planning, you can be intentional with what you want to say. Alcohol is a funny thing. It's the only drug that we feel like in our society, we have to justify not taking. Perhaps you've heard that before. It's definitely gone around the bend in the sober, curious, non-drinking world. But it's true. Think about it. Alcohol is considered a drug. We'll just call it a very well-marketed one. So it doesn't seem like a drug. It just seems like a cute, fruity beverage to kind of be fun and get buzzy and take the edge off, when really it's highly addictive. And I hate to burst your bubble, but it is also seen as a carcinogen, which means oftentimes can support cancer production, cancer cells. That's not good, but it's not marketed that way. Otherwise it would never sell. Could you imagine? So if you know you're going to be asked if you would like a drink and you know that you have an answer ready to go, you're going to do better. What will you say? When will you leave? What will you bring? What will you order? Again, not in a overthinking it kind of way, but in a prepared way. This can really, really help you. I will say in the 21-day reset, one of my goals in that amount of time with you is to give you confidence. Ladies, I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel confident that you're not alone. You're not broken. Just your pattern may be broken when it comes to your relationship with drinking. And really, that's not your fault. It is your responsibility to change it, but it's not your fault, because we do live in a world that has hijacked the messaging and marketing around alcohol from what it really is to what it promises, which is not what it is. What alcohol promises is not what it actually is. If you strip it down, if you take off the cute label and the party pictures and the Instagram, and you look at alcohol for just the substance that it is, minus the cute labels and flavors, it's really ethanol. Sorry, not sorry. It's just true. It's really ethanol, which is similar to the gas that you put in your car is also ethanol. In fact, alcohol, if you have it where it's like Everclear or vodka, where it's like 40 proof, 80 proof, it's flammable. Okay. So again, it's not your fault, because you've been marketed that it's cute, it's fruity, it's fun, it's no big deal. And over time, your relationship with alcohol can change at any time for any reason. And that can go either way. It's never too early and it's never too late to change your relationship with alcohol. Some of you have been through major crisis or tragedy or grief, and alcohol and your use of it changed. So your relationship with alcohol can change at any time and for any reason. And that can be for the positive, or that can be maybe for the negative. And the good news is you can change it. You can change it anytime. You're not stuck. You're not stranded on this alcohol-centric island all by yourself, where it's just in your face 24/7 and you just have to get better at managing it. If you're listening to me, you can pull off the drinking highway, get on the sober sis highway and join us, because that's what we're doing. Is we're literally just kind of challenging the narrative around alcohol, not giving you a label, not telling you you're the problem, but giving you empowerment so that you can be the solution. You know, when I was drinking, I looked at alcohol not as the problem. I looked at alcohol as the solution. I was like, what's the big deal? I'm just trying to chill here. I'm just trying to relax. I'm just trying to be, you know, a good mom, not so uptight. I'm just trying to connect better with my husband. I'm just trying to be a fun friend. And, you know, cheers, toast, let's cheers to that. I didn't realize that alcohol was becoming like a solution to me when I was bored, when I was angry, when I was lonely, when I was tired. Tee it up, there's alcohol. So alcohol to me wasn't initially the problem, it was the solution. It wasn't until I was able to pop the hood, look at my own relationship with drinking, that I realized, oh, it's not solving anything at all. In fact, it's actually making things worse, harder, heavier. The invisible load that I was carrying as a mom of teenagers, drinking was actually making it worse because it was totally increasing my anxiety. I do talk about that in the 21-day reset. I have a whole day on anxiety because I just thought I was drinking to reduce my anxiety because it would help me relax and chill out. Hello, maybe you don't know. Maybe I can show you that alcohol actually increases your anxiety because it increases your cortisol level, not just for the night that you're drinking, but for the next day and the next day and the next day. So if you're listening to me on a Friday and you drink tonight, again, I'm not here to label you or tell you you're doing something bad. You're a bad person. I'm saying that alcohol itself is not going to be good for you because even come Monday morning, the residue, the ripple effect of your hormonal balance, your homeostasis is going to be off from drinking tonight. So I don't know about you, but I actually find that empowering because again, you're not broken, just your pattern's broken. And I was asking myself the wrong question for so many years. And I was asking the question, is it bad enough? A big rock bottom moment for me. Or am I losing things? And I was losing myself internally is what was happening. And I'm so glad to be back now, awake, alert, aware, and present in my own life. So as we go into the summer, I want you to know you don't need more pressure, ladies. You really don't. You need a plan and you need support. And that's what we're doing here in Sober Sis. So take the next step, whatever that is for you. Download my free guide, jump in our free community, take the 21-day reset challenge. That's a real game changer because it will literally change the way you look at alcohol. It's okay if you want to decide after that, if you want to moderate or what you want to do with it. But once you take my 21-day reset challenge, it will literally change the way you look at alcohol so that you can't unknow what you know and you can't look at it the same. And then I think you'll find that to be really empowering. So if summer feels like a threat to your progress, the reset will help you walk into it, and so will AFL. Y'all stay sober-minded, stay awake, alert, aware, and present in your own life. Bye, y'all.